Eriksson, Gdpr and cybersecurity expert at Acando Consulting AB. AB, that's Sweden?
Yes.
Yes, Eriksson. I should have guessed. Okay. Thank you. The stage is yours, and privacy by design is your subject.
Yes, privacy by design. And that brings us from the law to the real world of designing safe and secure systems. And that's, well, the nitty-gritty of making it safe and sound. So see, I can operate this one. Thank you. This is about me, and I see myself as a gardener in this case, because there are so many things we need to think about when we work out privacy by design. First of all, the basis for this is this GDPR Article 25. And I think we need to read it because that's actually one of the requirements that goes into our requirements specification to build a system that's GDPR compliant, or at least has the ability to be GDPR compliant. So it's about the means. I put the important stuff in bold. The other is legalese, and I'm an engineer, so I'm pretty ignorant to that. So I just bring out the really key things. The means of processing and the time of processing, that's important to think about. And that we implement appropriate organizational and technical measures which are designed to implement data protection principles in order to safeguard the data, the personal data that we actually are handling or processing, as it said. And then it's also said the controller shall implement appropriate, again, technical and organizational measures to ensure by default, so always, only personal data necessary for each specific purpose is processed. So data minimization, that's one of the words that you may recognize, and also do it in a safe and secure way. How do we get there then? This is a tricky question. Well, this comes into security requirements. And security requirements is those that need to be applied to this app or system or product, whatever it is that comes out of us. And of course, this is not the only requirement that we have. It's also about those other requirements. So if you think about it as information security as a big ball, covers everything, we have, for companies, corporations, we have bookkeeping laws, we have archiving laws, we have all sorts of other laws that apply. And then we have this GDPR, which is sort of a little bubble on this, or a small piece of it that relates to personal data. And we put so much effort now to that little piece, where it's actually just a small piece of a big part. So remember that the world is not all about personal data. It's about keeping other data as well. And sometimes those other laws, like bookkeeping laws, archiving laws, patient data laws, they override what GDPR is about. And sometimes they intersect. So we need to have a good cooperation again with those that know the legal part and those of us that actually will do the design. There are some help for us, and ISO was mentioned before. Standards are good. Standards are helping us out. My favorite standards in this case are the ISO 27002, which has this list of controls. These are the things that we need to think about when we design systems for information security. Everything from logical to physical security. And we have in addition to that, which is the ISO 29151, which is only related to personal data. And they are actually, they have same structure overlapping. So if you're looking at what kind of requirements you have for personal data from a standard point of view, that's where they are. And you can just attach those if you have a ISMS, Information Security Management System. So it's very easy to work with it. And as you know, those standards also is that you choose what you need to apply. If it's not applicable for you, take it away and just mention that you've taken it away. And you pick the ones that are relevant to your, well, whatever you do in your organization. And also for follow-up, we have this 29134, the Guidelines for Privacy Impact Assessment, which is then to measure that we actually did what we said we should do. If you haven't got them, get them. So it's about the use of personal data. And you probably heard it a million times by now. We need to know what's the purpose of this data, why are we using it, the legal basis for it. And then we have the information security related requirements about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We could add traceability or accuracy as well to that. And, well, keep things in order as you do when you're growing your vegetables. The patch needs to be clean. Only the things that you need to have in your patch should be in your patch. No weed. And keep weeding, because weed may come around. It's a fact. So know what you want to use personal data for, and just use those data, nothing else. Nothing like it would be good to have. It's also about the project itself, because all these things, when we create new systems, new apps, it's about how we work. What are the requirements to that particular app? So we now know that we need to build it in. It has to be there from the beginning. Adding something at the very end that would relate to privacy would just be costly and not so well functioning. So if we want to have a certain type of data, we should have that. If we want to have certain controls, like I saw downstairs, check what outgoing mail, that we have the proper information classification to those mailings, that we have metadata, as mentioned before, so we know what the value of our data is, what it's used for. That's the point to put it there in this project, in the specification for what we can build. We also have a different view on this, and that's the life cycle of data as itself. Because data is the value that we work with. We collect data, okay, not more than we actually need. And we need to treat that with care. What personal data do you need? Exactly. How many of you have sold your soul for being a member of a loyalty club? You sold your soul for a glass of beer or a glass of wine or a couple of euros? Well, I did it a couple of times. I don't do it anymore because I just found I gave away my date of birth, my home address, my preferences, if I would like to have a room upstairs or very high up or so on. And I didn't give any consent to that. At least now I need to be aware of that. Do I really give away that? And do you really need it? For what purpose? Just for fun? Having the chance to massage the data and sell me more services? For sure. So marketeers are a bit unhappy about this, and I'm happy about it. So, and second point is, actually third point here, save data as long as you need it, and not longer. How many of you have collections of data in your email box? Way back, I have customers that say, well, we track cases in our email. So that's a collection that I have downloaded, and it dates back like 10 years. Does it contain personal data? Of course it does. Can we keep it in the future? Well, it depends. If it's for business purposes and there's a legal basis for it, there's a contract, for sure. If it's just because of laziness, it was easy to do, you need to look at it. I have other customers that I work with, and they say, we're going to clean out everything that's older than 2 years, because we know by experience that it's outdated by then. So we need to set some rules in the design about how long should we retain data. Best before date, just as we do in the shop. Milk, best before date for Sunday? Okay, that's fine. Best before date today? Maybe not. So add that. This is a simple rule, simple requirement. So don't save things forever. There are good reasons for that. It's filling up your space. Even if data space, storage space is cheap nowadays, there's a reason for freeing up space as well, because you're paying for it somehow. And in case you need to look into what you have this lake. It's really an uncharted lake of data. So it will save you some time not to have that lake too big and too deep as well. So do this spring cleaning of data. It's high time now. Before you can do that, of course, you need to have some policies for what you want to keep and why you want to keep it. And again, explain it to your clients, your customers, whoever they are. It's part of the information that we need to provide to the people that we're working with, whose data we are not owning but are allowed to use for a limited time. What do we do should we have automatic clean out of data, or should that be some screening of that before? Well, you have a choice. Sometimes it's good to screen things. Has it been used in the last couple of months, years? If it's in the years, maybe it can go. If it's active data, of course, keep it. Set up some policy for that, and then you're done with that. It's also about education, and we heard from previous speakers here about security culture, about the people. So it's much more than only the systems. It's about the people. It's about us, actually. And that's time-consuming. It's a bit of hard work, because talking to people, working with people, especially if we're into the coding, programmers, we're project managers, we're in a hurry to do this project to make our systems GDPR compliant. Do we really need to talk to people as well? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. Because the users, there are our clients, our customers, our colleagues, and as pointed out in the previous speech too, it takes only one person that does something odd, something wrong. Maybe not even knowing that is wrong to do that, to crack the whole GDPR compliancy. It's a leakage. It's an incident that comes out of that. So therefore, in order to have privacy by design that actually works, we also need to do something with our colleagues, our members of our office, our partners, that they cannot treat data whatever like they do. They had to do it in a specific way. Downstairs, there's about encrypted email. Do we send, sending emails is like sending postcards. Do we send sensitive personal information through email? I know I've done that. You've probably done it yourself. From today on, it's not acceptable. How would a person know that it's not acceptable? We know it because we're in this business. But those who don't, that they send occasional emails and they need to share something. Should they encrypt this? Yes, of course, that's what we say. And then comes the crucial question, how do I do it? Encrypt Outlook? I don't know. Well, it's actually possible. It's built in there. You can encrypt. For a regular user that does this occasionally, it's not common knowledge. Do we need to educate our users? Answer is yes. Do we have appropriate protection about our total assets of information? Do we have like a log-on procedure, or is it just open access? Whoever has, in the premises can look into data in your database, your client database. Maybe you have some kind of protection there. The next question, do you have some logging? So you know what they do there. Because if you don't have any check on who's into your systems and what they're doing, you can lose anything. That's actually more or less an incident on its own. And if you're questioned by the authorities and they find out that, no, we don't know, we didn't know that anyone was in there, you have shared logins in some systems because of convenience. Is that acceptable? Probably not. How can you check that someone has not peeked into something that they should not see? Because the definition in GDPR is that if you can see something, you can consider it as leaked. You could see. Doesn't mean that you have seen it, or used it, or abused it, but it's still a break. So those things we need to educate our users to do, to know about. And this is nothing dramatical, really. It's just common sense. And you can put it in the perspective of my own perspective. Would I like to see my personal data being sent by postcard to someone that I don't know? By the way, credit card numbers, etc., passport, or even sensitive data like my health status or anything like that, my religious or political beliefs. We have election year in Sweden this year. Would I like that to be openly shared? Maybe not. I prefer not to have it shared to people that I don't know. So, good reason to protect that data in storage as well as in transition, as it's called. Think about the different categories that we have as well. Management need to know that they're responsible for this. So if there's a leakage, it's actually the leadership that will have the goat's head. IT personnel, we need to do it from a different point of view because we are ensuring that the systems are working. And of course, usually we come up to write the policies as well. And we need to make sure that those policies are then shared with everybody that need to have it. So I'm coming to communication in the next slide. Users, we talked a lot about them. And then we have other specific groups, the project managers. Okay, do I need to have to talk to people, to the stakeholders? Yes, you have to. You have to. IT architects, think about the implications. How do we protect the data? So they need a different set of educational pieces. Coders, how do I build this in? OWASP 10 is a great tool in that sense. And there are some other simple rules that you can follow. They're there already, so nothing that is rocket science. So, education is a big piece actually of this, much bigger than you've ever thought. And finally, communication. For those of you who have some legal background, do you communicate well with coders, with project managers? We talk different languages. It goes like that, like that. And we need someone that is actually able to translate what says in the GDPR into requirement specifications, into coding language. Would a lawyer know about OWASP top 10? Probably not. A coder may be somewhat aware about GDPR, but it doesn't really have any friction whatsoever. So we need to be there, and I pledge you in this room, and those who listen in, that this is where we really have a gap that we need to cover. And do it by explaining why it's important to treat personal data well. It comes with a cost. That's the language to the management. Do we want to risk that? Well, they may decide what the risk appetite is. And for us that are, well, in the consulting business or within companies, in the government agencies, we need to be like ducks. Quack, 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 repeat, 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 repeat. Keep on talking, because that's the only way that I can see that we will reach a better state of GDPR compliance. We're not done yet. We have system maintenance as well. Just because we have Friday the 25th of May 2018 today, we're not done yet. This is just the start of a journey. We have old systems, we have new systems. New systems, think about designing them the proper way. Old systems, well, are they safe and secure? No, they lack a lot. Should we sunset them? Well, if it's possible, do it. It's similar to the millennium clean-out, I would say. Get rid of systems that are outdated and get something new and better. Or you had to add manual processes around them. So for example, to extract data about personal data that exist, so you can clean them out manually again. Start there because you need to do it. And make sure that IT help desk or whoever is working with taking care of those requests have a procedure to work by. Otherwise, they will be dumped. Well, will be. We run a big risk, I would say, by Monday that there will be requests on, I want to see what kind of data there is about me. And of course, there are 30 days you have to work with that. so you don't have to deliver it now. On the other hand, if someone is a bit upset with you, it may go into the press. So make sure you have a good answer on Monday on what you're doing with those requests. And that will calm the sea a bit too. Thank you. And do code GDPR compliant system from now on, please.
Okay, that was a nice one. A nice applause. Okay, anybody in the room has questions? Oh, but I do. I especially like that quack, quack, quack part. You know, in these conferences, we do that all the time. And so, as a moderator, especially when I have the panel discussions and so, I always try to, you know, say, don't use extreme examples. You know why? And I'm about to break that rule right now with you. Previously, I believe most of the companies, they actually didn't delete any data once they didn't need them in their turnovers. They archived it, and there were a whole bunch of IT systems, you know, indexing archives and enabling quick searches. So actually, it was never archived. And now, if we think, for example, that we sell just one piece of equipment to some private person, we handle simplicious data that enables us to issue an invoice, receive a payment, deliver, done. We should delete it, right? Okay, maybe the exception is the bookkeeping system, but otherwise. Now, my extreme example question is, court. Sometimes I need that information, especially from emails, etc., simply to protect our company in the courts.
Yeah.
And in the case you should delete everything once you don't need it, I don't have this data anymore. So what would be your recommendation in this sense?
I had similar questions, and I worked with the Swedish Employers Association, and in Sweden at least, we have, for bookkeeping purposes, we have 7 years archiving rule. Our municipalities have 10 years of archiving as the rule, and also for employment records comes into that, because it might be that you have insurance, warranties, and such. And they say that you can keep that as long as you think there is a need for it to safeguard yourself against that kind of cases that you would be sued for any work-related accidents or something like that.
So as long as I might need it, it doesn't say might in the law, as long as I need it, but I think I need it just in case.
Well, if you have this just in case thought, think about it twice and make sure you have a good motivation for it. Because it's all about having a good motivation. As long as you have a good motivation to keep it, you can keep it. If you just keep it for safety, unknown reasons,
it's usually never for fun. It's just,
then you have a very weak case, and you will get rid of it.
Okay.
There's a question down there.
Yeah. Okay. Sir, go grab a mic, please.
Actually, there is no question, but I just wish to say thank you for this discussion, because I think it's a very important topic because GDPR is all about how to implement this data protection in technical system, but unfortunately there is very little of technical discussions out there, and you have seen that there was a full room on the first presentation, and there is much less people now, and this is a very big problem for me as well, because we have to implement these things in our technical systems, and we have more questions than answers. So thank you for this presentation.
Thank you very much for that compliment.
Okay, thank you. Margaret, I personally would like to thank you.